Hi, welcome to practice today. I'm Jennifer of Unset Ways Yoga and Mindful Movement. Today we will be moving through some yin yoga postures which focus on stillness and longer holds. Yin helps us open and get nourishment to connective tissue, which happens much more slowly than stretching muscle tissue. Connective tissue holds tension to protect our movement limits. And connective tissue also relates to our mind and our emotions. So moving slowly and holding postures for longer helps communicate safety to our body and also helps us access the parasympathetic nervous system, which allows our body to get into the mode of rest and digest. This is where body listening comes in. We have choices. So for each posture, I'll show a number of approaches to get into the shape of the posture, and I invite you to settle into something that feels sustainable. Next, we will want to find stillness, and you may notice that your body wants to fidget or wiggle, or maybe your mind keeps racing. But then you may notice a few moments later that your body starts to soften and starts to relax into the shape. This is where we want to breathe. So I invite you to hold each posture for as long as feels intuitively correct. Don't worry about any rigid rules of holding for 2 minutes or 12 minutes or any defined limit. Do what feels most supportive for you. And if the sensation changes, feel free to stay or shift or exit when it feels right for you. You might skip a pose altogether or revisit it on another day. Or even if you want to hold a posture for longer, feel free to hit that pause button and take your time. So a few props you might want to have available are the usual ones, maybe a couple of blankets, bolsters, or even a couple of firm couch cushions can be handy. If you have a couple of yoga blocks, great. And maybe even a strap or a long scarf or belt can be helpful. When you're ready, I'll meet you right back here on your mat. So let's get started with a little warm up here. Just settle into an easy seat. You can rest your hands on your knees or wherever feels comfortable. And just take a moment to find your breath. Feel free to close your eyes or just soften your gaze downward. And take a moment. And when you're ready to start adding some movement, let's just take a light arc with our arm over our head, swaying side to side. And let's pause on one side here, reaching up and over, and then bringing our arm around to walk our hands to the center. We don't want a really aggressive forward fold, just a gentle leaning forward, allowing your head and neck to relax down. Maybe feeling a light stretch on the back of your neck and down along the back line of the body. Feel free to add some intuitive movement here, maybe shaking your head side to side, just gently, or even rolling ear to shoulder on each side. And let's continue to walk our hands over to the other side, raising the other arm up and over, coming up to a seat in the center. And let's take a breath in and out together. If your breath wants to deepen, let it happen naturally. We'll reach up towards the sky on the inhale and open your mouth to let a sigh out on the exhale. One more time at your pace. Nice inhale, reaching up towards the sky. And exhale. Pausing here for a moment. And let's ease our knees up and together. And here's where you'll want to bring in a couple of cushions or just a low level bolster here. And we'll come onto one hip with our knees bent, kind of sidling up next to that bolster. Or you could even have a couple of blankets stacked up there. From here, we're going to lower ourselves down over the bolster, allowing our side body to come into a side bend here. And then we'll reach up and over with our arm. You can even clasp your wrists if that helps feel more solid there. And if you're wanting even more of a stretch along that side body, you could extend that top leg and give the feeling of your top hip moving away from your head and neck. So really elongating that side of your body. And in this posture, once you've reached a comfortable position, feel free to close your eyes or soften that gaze to a fixed spot. Once again, finding your breath. And just encouraging any adjustments as you settle into this posture. If you find leaning forward or back can help the sensation as well, can kind of fine-tune your body into the shape of the posture. Take a moment to blink open your eyes and slowly walk yourself up onto your side again. And we're going to switch to the other side, adjusting our bolster right next to us here. And sliding or crawling your way down, giving yourself a nice positioning with the pillows or blankets into a nice side body extension on the right side this time, supporting your head with your arm, or even if you needed to bring a pillow in, that can be comfortable. And then of course we'll arc our arm up and over and find a nice positioning for that. And if you like, you can extend your leg, but either with extended or a bent leg. If you want to move your hip away from your head and neck, this will elongate that stretch on the side body. And soften your eyes and find your breath again. In this practice, we're not looking to fix anything, just simply to notice how our body feels in each position, each posture. Do you notice differences from side to side? And again, we're not trying to diagnose why that may be. There will always be differences between our sides. It's just taking notice and maybe starting to tune into the timing of when your body does release, or which approach works best to help give yourself a sense of ease and safety in the shape. And when you're ready, take your time. Slowly come back up to center. And we'll move our bolsters out of the way. And let's come back to an easy seat next. Taking a moment to let our body settle after our initial long holds. So after those long side stretches, we're going to come into shoelace, which helps address the side of our hips down into that area. So there are a number of ways to approach this position. So I'll start from easy seat. We would take the lower leg, would have the knee pointing forward, bent leg with the foot out. And then we'd cross over the top leg, allowing the knees to stack, and then adjusting so that we're evenly on both hips and the feet are at about even level. Now, if for any reason you're thinking, my body is not made like that, there are a number of approaches. And again, no need to get diagnostic as to why. You approach what feels sustainable to you, and that is the best reason. So another option that we can do, and you may like to have a block handy, or something that you could have a few different height levels available. So I would start by coming up to your knees, and then we would cross our legs, kind of like you're crossing your legs when you're sitting. And again, trying to find the even point with our feet splaying out in the back. And then you're going to bring that block in between your feet and sit back on that so that we come into that knee stack, foot out, feet evenly out to the sides, but our hips are raised up a bit. So again, you may need to adjust to have the right height of the block, and also so that you can have a relatively even seating with both of your hips at level. And again, if that's too much, if that's not feeling right, there is another approach. You may like to have a strap or scarf or belt handy. You can come at this from laying on your back, bringing knees up like a tabletop, crossing your ankles over and allowing the feet to come out to the sides. And you can either clasp your hands, bringing your knees inward, or use that strap to hold them at a level where you start to feel some stretching in the hips. And then we'll cross the legs at a certain point too. So find what works best for you. I think I might start in the middle option myself, so let's get ourselves comfortable. And cross over whichever leg you'd like to start with. We'll switch at a later point. And get yourself balanced in position. And we'll start with this sitting upright so that we can get a sense of this feeling in our hips as is. And let's take a moment here. Place your hands wherever feels comfortable. Maybe it's grounding to have them on your feet, or you could even have them in your lap. Whatever feels best to you. You could even have one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, if that helps you get into that meditative feel. And we'll find our breath here to start. And perhaps you find your body softening into the posture a little more. If you'd like to add a forward fold, if you're in the upright position, or conversely, hug your knees in tighter if you're on your back. Feel free to make any adjustments here. Just go intuitively. Anytime you need to make adjustments is the right time. We do try to find stillness, but you never want to be in a position of pain, or if something feels intuitively not right, that's not going to allow your body to feel that sense of safety. So we want that sense of sustainability to really accomplish what we want to end up with for yin yoga. We want to have that connective tissue opening and receiving the nourishment of blood flow and joint lubrication and all of the positive things that can happen through this practice. When you're ready, blink your eyes open and slowly release yourself from whichever approach you have chosen. Any intuitive movement in between postures is welcome. If you're on your back, you could do happy baby, grabbing onto your heels and allowing your hips to kind of circle, or maybe some hip circles up on your knees. And take your time. We'll prepare to get into the other side. So crossing the opposite leg over. And don't worry if you need different heights on your block or a different setup for the opposite side. Again, we're not trying to get diagnostic at all, and you may have differences in your body side to side based on tension of your daily activities or old injuries or new injuries or surgeries or any reasoning. We don't have to justify any excuses. Just find what feels comfortable to help you feel more free, and that's the right decision for the day. So again, aiming towards that balance of the feet being equal, but if that's not perfect, again, don't worry. And we want those knees stacked, sitting upright, or if you're laying on the floor, just feeling in a nice balanced position. And we'll start, if you're seated upright, let's just start in the upright position. Again, resting your hands wherever feels comfortable. And take a few breaths here to center into your balance. And then whenever you're ready, if you do want to make any adjustments for adding a forward fold or bringing those knees in closer or even moving them a little further away, just settle in for a few breaths, then make any adjustments and keep going, or exit the posture whenever you feel is right. And when you're ready, slowly blink open your eyes. Again, slowly exit the posture. We've been holding these for quite a long time, so we want to be gentle with ourselves. And again, follow any intuitive movement to counteract that particular stretch that you find is right. So next we're going to be coming onto our bellies, onto our mat. So it can be helpful if you have sensitive lower back to have like a roll of a blanket that will be placed underneath your hips that can take some pressure off of those lower lumbar vertebrae. So feel free to prepare anything that you would like, or if you just want to be flat on your mat, that is perfect as well. So let's get comfortable coming down to our mat. And we're going to be coming into Sphinx pose with the option for seal pose. So we'll have our elbows directly under our shoulders, hands straight out from there. If you have your hips resting onto the blanket or even just onto your mat, just give them a little wiggle side to side. We're going to have our glutes and our legs and our feet just completely relaxed. So this is a little bit more with the upper body that we're going to be obtaining sort of a back bend position. So from here, once you have a comfort level here, and if you don't, if there's any pain, you may want to skip this today. But if you are choosing to do Sphinx, we're going to raise the heart space upward, but keeping our gaze just straight ahead of you. You might feel a nice stretch in the abdominal muscles and all of that connective tissue surrounding there. Or maybe some extension in that spine as well with the back bend. You want to have your shoulders down and away from the ears. And again, just a nice gentle gaze forward. Feel free to close your eyes here. Now, option for seal, if this is not completely comfortable for you. And seal actually can be a little bit more soothing on the low back too. So you could widen your hands to the edges of your mat and then raise yourself up. So you're sitting kind of like a seal on the beach. Again, lower body completely relaxed. And then shoulders down and away from the ears. Feel that heart space shine forward, rising up, and gaze straight ahead. Now this posture, even though we will hold for some breathing here, it is held a little less long because of the intensity, so don't ever worry about time. In your practice, always just find that sustainable point in the posture, in the shape of the pose. And just breathe. And when it naturally feels time to exit, you have your entire permission of your own. There's never any competition or right or wrong. This practice is for you, and you should be able to make it your own. And some people's bodies release faster or slower than others. So some people may crave a longer hold when others are fine with just a shorter time. So again, let's just breathe and find that easeful state. And if you're up in seal, go ahead and lower your elbows down when you're ready. And everyone, lower yourselves down to the mat. And just rest your head on your hands. Maybe just a moment of recalibration for your body. And feel free to give it a rock side to side. And then when you're ready, we're going to press up with our hands and back into child's pose. This is a perfect counter for that Sphinx or seal back bend. And intuitively, again, feel free to add a rocking motion side to side if that soothes you. Or just find stillness here. This is kind of one of those transitional moments where if you would like more stillness, feel free to take it if you feel a little need to kind of soothe and recalibrate. That is entirely correct as well. Again, in your own time, walk yourself back up when you're ready. And you can take a moment. We're going to build up a prop to lean back on. So you're welcome to have a rolled up blanket if you don't like something too tall, or you can have no prop at all. I like to create a sort of bolster ramp, and you can make this as tall as you like to recline back on. So we're going to back up to our bolster. Our hips won't be on the bolster, we'll be in front of it. So find your positioning. And we're going to be in hero pose, so our heels are going to be on either side of our hips. Now, if this is not quite comfortable for you, you could put a block here to extend the length of your bolster or prop pile there. And this will raise up the hips, taking some pressure off the knees if that's helpful. If you do have sensitive knees and this is still a little too much, we will be doing releasing one leg at a time, so that may help. But you're also welcome to put a small wedge of blanket or a small pillow behind your knees, and that can help alleviate tension there. So find what works for you. And let's find a moment to make sure that we have our ankles straight. We don't want to be curling them out or putting any stress on that ankle joint. So if you need to kind of move them out a little wider or whatever there, we want to have that completely relaxed. And then we're going to release one leg. So choose whichever works for you. We're going to place our foot flat on the floor. And so we'll be evenly balanced on both hips. And take a moment here. What we're going to do is slowly recline back either onto our mat or our blanket or bolsters. And this is going to help address the hip flexors, which we started to release there in the Sphinx pose. But this can help us give individual attention to each side if we have some differentiation there. So at your own pace, very gently, slowly roll or recline back. And make sure that your head is supported by your bolster surface. If you feel low back tension, you may want to lift your hips up, curling them under just a little bit. And that can help position your hips in a little more sustainable position there. And then maybe even roll your shoulders back and underneath those shoulder blades. And that can help the chest open up and just relax the arms at the sides. And so once you've found the sustainable position, again, we'll work through those first moments of breathing, see if we need to make any adjustments, allowing the mind to recalibrate, and maybe it's trying to problem solve. What are we doing now? Where are we going? And then the longer that we sustain this just gentle breathing, then we do put in place a sense of safety. But again, if you don't find that moment of sustainability, slowly exit the position, maybe try a different propping, or maybe skip it altogether today. So always, your body will tell you the truth of the day. And as we go through our practices, you'll find what postures feel best on your body. And then sometimes, some days that's different. You might crave certain postures on different days. So there are no wrong ways to practice when you're following body listening. Intuition is key, and there's no competition. So in your own time, I'm going to be describing how to get out of this posture. If you haven't done this posture before, you may like to listen first because it can be a little tricky feeling sometimes getting up out of this posture safely. So what we'll do is put our hands down on the floor on either side of where our hips are. And I like to put on the foot that's back, maybe put my palm on that foot. And then we're also going to be pressing into the ground with our standing foot. From here, we'll take our belly button into our spine to support that. And raising up as if someone has a marionette string on our heart, lifting us upward. We'll raise with the heart first, letting the head and neck fall back last. So just gently coming up, that'll protect the head and neck. And then we can slowly unbend our knees. And maybe put both legs out front for a moment, giving them a little wiggle. And then we'll come back into that posture where we're in the hero's pose. Again, if you'd like to have that block to raise you up in between your heels, that can be helpful. And I like to center myself with both legs to start, making sure I have a nice even balance on both hips, and then release the leg that I'm going to have the standing foot. So again, just allowing those toes to spread out, getting a nice solid footing, literally into the earth there. And then feeling that balance on your hips and slowly reclining back once again onto your mat or blanket roll or nice ramp of cushioning. And again, maybe curling under those shoulder blades, making sure your chest is wide open, allowing the arms and hands to relax out of the sides. You may have done this intuitively, but another alternative could be having your hand on your heart, another hand on your belly. If you like to kind of feel the breathing pace to help you relax. And then we settle into our stillness and into our breath. And when you are ready, go ahead and blink open your eyes. Place those hands next to your hips. Get a nice firm foot on the ground. Pulling the belly into the spine and raising with the heart up towards the sky, letting the head and neck follow. And you can remove any block that you may have lifted up on. And again, straighten your legs and give them a little wiggle, a little shake. So from here, we'll be taking a Shavasana. So you're welcome to do that reclined on your bolsters if you like, or have no props there if you want to lay flat. And just ease yourself down. If you want to bring in a blanket to cover you for as long as you'd like to take Shavasana today, that can be comforting. And then go ahead and ease yourself into our final position of the day, Shavasana. A few leg options, whether you're on props or laying flat on your mat. Having those legs outstretched, since we had them all bent up, allowing them to just relax, and letting the feet fall to the sides can be nice. Or you're welcome to bring your feet up, bent knees, allowing your feet to be together, letting the knees fall wide into a sort of diamond shape, like a butterfly posture. And another way may be to bring your feet to the outside of your mat, as wide as your mat on the sides, letting the knees fall into the center. This is a nice hip flexor release. So we did a lot of stretching with that today. This can be a different way of releasing and relaxing that muscle area in there. So find what speaks to you today. And I will give us a nice long amount of time for our Shavasana, but if I bring us out of it and you want to stay longer, please feel free to indulge for as long as you would like today and every time you do this practice. Your practice is yours, and you always have choices. And the more often that you're able to practice, the better you learn the fluctuations of your body and when longer holds feel appropriate, or when is time to release from a posture. Our bodies speak in sensation, and our minds are always trying to figure things out. So we connect them with the breath, allowing them to sync together. And we come to an intuitive understanding in our reactions and our how we feel. Gently finding clarity. If you're ready to come out of your Savasana, I invite you to slowly bend your knees and place your feet on the floor. And gently, slowly bringing yourself up to a seated position. Let's bring both of our hands to our heart space. Thanking our bodies for everything they do for us. And even though our practices are never about performing with body listening, taking the time to listen, I applaud to your own body for showing up today and always getting to know yourself even better. Thank you for joining me, and I can't wait to see you next time.